Welcome to another episode of TV Crew Talk. Today, my guest is my good friend, longtime friend from college, Dan Reardon.
Long
Welcome to the
time.
show, Dan.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course, of course. Let's just reminisce for a second. How'd we meet? Let's tell the audience how we met.
Do you want to begin?
Sure, I'm trying to pinpoint exactly when it was, but I know back at
It's
Plattsburgh State in PSTV, but
yeah. It was a combination of things. It was we were both involved in the mass communication curriculum, and obviously having classes together and passing each other in the hallways at PSTV. We were both RAs, so that kind of gave us another point of contact, another way to
right.
overlap. And it's like it's there's handfuls of people in your life that like you just kind of meet and you latch onto, and it's just been nice that we've had this friendship and a professional relationship throughout all these years. So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And we started working together right away out of college when I think your big client was Glamour magazine. And uh, let's talk about that. How the inner workings on what exactly that project was.
Yeah, I mean, it was, kind of looking back, I feel like we were kind of a little bit ahead of our time with that
Right.
particular project because it came through a client that I was working with, which was College Television Network.
Oh, right.
Um,
Right.
and, they had this kind of, it was kind of this in-network TV that was being broadcast to campuses. So it was in the dining halls and in the student unions and stuff. But they started reaching out, looking to have like a fashion-oriented piece. So they had the client. It was Mademoiselle magazine that came on, and then Mademoiselle magazine, I believe, closed the doors one day and transitioned to Glamour magazine. Uh, well, the project was transitioned to Glamour magazine, so it
Right.
kept
Right.
kept running from there. So we had a really long run with that for I'd say like a good 10 years of producing content for them.
Yeah. It was. So how did you get into that? How because was that your first big client, your first big project?
Well, it's funny. Like I started out at right out of college. I moved to California. I had an internship at NBC
Right.
in New York. And a job became available in Burbank, California. So it was
I
like, it
remember.
just so happened. It was just so accelerated. It's like I graduated, had the internship, had the job out in California. Um, and then like, there was an earthquake back in 93,
I
94,
remember.
whatever it was. And I think I'm going to go back to New York, but it was the contacts that I made at NBC. There was a gentleman by the name of Tim Miller, uh, who was the vice president of East Coast advertising, I believe it was, for NBC New York. And he ran into me when I was in California, and he's like, "How do you like it out here?" I was like, "Yeah, I think I want to go back to New York." And so he had just started his own production company,
Right.
and he came out. He did so many. He was doing stuff for HBO and NBC. He had done like he won Best Music Video of the Year for Garth Brooks at the time. Um, so his business was really taking off, and out of the kindness of his heart, he kind of took me in, and I worked for him for a number of years. But like, the difference between working at the network and then going to work for a production company, there was no union stuff to have to skirt
Right.
around.
Right.
So it's like I got to pick up cameras, I got to get into graphic design and be a producer and an editor. So it seemed to be that like in the business back then, it was like everybody had a role. You were a graphic designer, you were a producer, you were an editor.
You were
Yeah,
pigeonholed.
yeah. But I started to see, and I initially saw it at NBC was there were these magical people that they were referred to as predators. Like there was a producer uh, in his own had an Avid in his room, which also was like kind of just coming to fruition. Um, and so I got to speaking to them, and they're like, "Yeah, I write my own stuff, and then I come back and I edit it. I don't go into the online rooms. I do it all myself." And I was like, that really intrigued me. So I was like, I
Right.
kind of went down, being a producer, editor type, and taking on some graphic design elements as well to what I did. So it was just really great training ground for working with a production company that was working with various networks, and I was doing advertising and promotion and marketing type material, and that really kind of spoke to me. I wasn't like working on full-blown shows.
Right.
um, so I kind of found my in the short form content of like creating show opens and lower third graphic banners and transitions and all of that stuff, like really kind of spoke to
So you
me.
would
And
say
I
that that internship was invaluable, right? By giving
yeah, because
you
it
the
set me on a
context.
path. Yeah, I mean, it was really that the relationships and the context that came out of that. So I was with the Tim Miller Group, Tim Miller Entertainment, it was called, for a
Right.
number of years, and they had created their own post production facility. So I was really like, talk about diving into the deep end of the pool, like doing things that I never imagined I would have had the opportunity to do otherwise. So I got a great bunch of experience really early on in my career. And so, yeah, as these companies kind of come and go, I worked at different boutique agencies
Right.
throughout
Right.
my career. And then eventually I was like, oh, I should do this on my own a little bit, let
Start
me
making
see.
money for other people.
Yeah, so I mean, that's where like the Glamour magazine project came from, and that was really like kind of gave me the ticket to, okay, I'm going to go out and do this on my own. So I bought my own editing system, and that's where you and I kind of reconnected in the professional world, because
Right.
uh, you were handling getting me the gear and the lighting and the camera people and all that stuff. You were crewing those shoots for me.
Right.
Um, so it was great. We had a really good run with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people all the time, I speak to colleges and new people breaking in, take every internship that is afforded to you, ask a lot
Yeah,
of questions, assume nothing, and keep your network growing because you never know when you can use it.
yeah. Because I mean, a lot of times I think out of the gate, it's like it's important to find out what it is you're good at and what you want to do, but those experiences also show you what you don't want to do.
Totally.
The paths that you don't want to go down. You kind of meet a couple of disgruntled employees along the way that kind of push you in. Yeah, and there was producers that I had met. They saw that I had a huge interest in the online rooms and creating things. They're like, listen, like it's all union here. You're not going to get your hands on a
You're not
computer.
going to
Like
touch it.
if you want to excel here, you need to leave. Like go
Right.
and get the experience elsewhere and then come back. But like stay in touch with people. And I mean, there's still people that I talk to from back then. It was back in
Yeah.
the '90s, early 2000s and stuff. Uh, so it's great.
My internship senior year of college was at the PBS station in Plattsburgh, where
Right.
I learned a switch on it was a Century switcher. Uh, and then my first job at a college was working for a company that made the PC Richard and Son commercials. Six
Right.
months into my job there, the editor left, and it was an online room with a Century switcher and an Apex edit controller, which I learned in my internship, and I was like, I can do that.
Right.
And in 2 months, I hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the edit room for like 10 to 15 hours a day. It was dark. It was awful.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's
you learn what
funny.
you don't want to do.
You learn what you don't want to do, and silly me, like I lived in those dark rooms. So like what you hated, like I was like, yes, you know. No, it's funny because it's true, and it was like it wasn't until I, working the long hours and doing sort of the day and night shift, like I was working around the clock getting crazy experience in building my demo reel and stuff. Um, but in hindsight, like looking back, like I hated sitting. Like that's right.
Right.
Right now, I'm at a standing desk. I completely like turned around. Like I still love the editing process, but
Hmm.
like looking back, how long that took and the hours it took sitting hunched over at a desk, it was exciting at the time. But
Right.
yeah, like just that's when I sort of like ventured out. Like what? Let me do some shooting. I
Right.
didn't, and that's the thing. Like it was really like until the like when the DSLR cameras sort of all of a sudden had a video mode, that's when I
Right.
picked up cameras again because I'm a photographer and it's like having that capability in your hand and having stuff that looks beautiful with these cameras that I was so familiar with already. I'm like that kind of sparked me wanting to get up from the desk again. And I was
Right.
like, what? I'm a producer. I am an editor. Like I would like to go out and shoot, And so I started doing all those different types of things uh, that still in the creative process, but like yeah, like you said, like I don't want to be stuck at the desk all the time.
Right. Right.
So the variety of doing things in that way kind of got to me later in my career.
So how has you touched on it briefly in that answer
Mm-hmm.
with technology, but how has technology really changed your career path and where you are now?
It's strange. Like with the tools, I remember flipping through magazines and being like, "Oh my god!" Like you'd start seeing things like nonlinear editing and After Effects and the Adobe Creative Suite and all that stuff. All these tools that sort of um, gave the power to everybody to create. Which was just wasn't these post production facilities. Like an army of one could do an enormous amount of work. So I gravitated towards these like kind of smaller productions, these more abundant productions. Um, so it's a blessing and a curse, I think, because these
Right. Right.
tools gave you the ability to work anywhere, to work remotely. But with that comes like a lot of creative isolation. Like you kind of work in a bubble, and so you don't have that kind of point of human contact, especially as a post production person. Like you're in your edit space, you're creating things, and you don't have the hustle and bustle of the people around you all the time. So it's
Right.
important to get out and still do. You have to network, you have to keep in touch with your contacts. I mean, LinkedIn is great, but we're all staring at computer screens more than faces these days, unfortunately.
Exactly. Especially our
So
kids.
yeah. I mean, they don't know what they don't know.
Right. True. True.
What they don't know. It's like we I think it's unique in our age bracket. It's we had that hands-on and personal experience and interaction with people, and it still exists obviously today, but there's this whole other digital world dynamic, which
Right.
it's a double-edged sword. It's like
Totally.
there's a lot of creative freedom and a lot of opportunity that comes from it, but there's a tremendous amount of competition. Everybody has access to these tools.
Right.
So it's then that kind of
How?
speaks to like having a whole other skill set, right? It's
Right.
not just about what everybody can do with the tools that everybody has access to, but the human factor and the sense of connection and everything. That's a whole other skill set that comes with doing this type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm making like 2025 the year for learning AI, and
Mm-hmm.
I've spent a lot of money in the next few months going to a bunch of different events to learn how I could either start another business using AI or using AI
Mm-hmm.
to take my current businesses, to the next level. How has AI helped, hurt your business?
It's listen. I never set out to do like I wanted. I never wanted to be a DP or make movies, and in that I really like the advertising and marketing and promotion world.
Mhm.
And creating more short form content. So I think, you know, it scares me because it's really come to a point where I can see things online and I'm like, I have to take a minute. Like, I don't know if that's real or not. Like,
That's the problem.
that frightens the hell out of me, you
Right.
know? And just, I mean, there's a whole other conversation that we could have about that, but, you know, honing in on like the work aspect of it, like, yeah, like you can create a tremendous amount of content just by having the knowledge of what to prompt.
Right.
And I've been playing with a lot of that, and it's a little hit and miss. You don't have the finite control of making revisions to things. Like, you get what you get. But the problem, you know, I've been diving into it a lot too, and I've helped. You know, it's helped me brainstorm ideas that kind of just get stuck in my head. It helps me get ideas to paper, you know, and flush them out.
Right.
But you have to go through all of that stuff with a fine tooth comb because it does make mistakes. You can't rely on it.
Right.
Like, your first thought should not be, and this what I think is dangerous is, what would AI do? You know,
Right.
how would AI solve this? Like, you have to have the creative idea still, and then take that to AI and see how you could flush it out. It definitely accelerates, which I think is
Hmm.
great. But if, you know, if everybody, and this is again, everybody having access to the tools, everybody having access to AI, if everybody's pushing out this super polished, creative content that's not authentic, like, I
Right.
still think you need a voice. You need, you
Right.
know, I don't want an AI agent. I don't want to create a version of myself that's AI that doesn't stumble or doesn't look a little awkward on camera. Like, this
Right.
is who
Right.
I
Right.
am. Take it or leave it.
Right.
Like, you know.
Right. Right.
And so I think there's a lot of promise with it. I think there's a lot of accelerant to the
Hmm.
creative process that could to be gained from it. It's definitely, I use it as a sort of collaborator, bouncing ideas and helping me flush things out. It's been very helpful with that. Um, you know, in a real world example, like, I was doing something for a nonprofit organization. I did these series of interviews. I uploaded sort of the synopsis to AI with the transcripts from the interviews, told it how long I needed it to be, and sort of the chapters of the
Right.
video that I wanted it to be, and it helped me select all the sound bites.
Wow.
Like, it was
Amazing.
just short, and I was able to go back, and because it had the transcripts of everything, I could, you know, again, using it as kind of like an assistant producer, like, I feel like
Right.
this soundbite is a little redundant. Can we find something that we could piece together that would take the redundancy out of it? And it gives me back, like, yes, check this time code. So and so said this, and I'm like,
Oh my
that
God.
would have taken me like 3 hours to go through the footage to find that piece of information.
So it saves
And
you time and
so
money.
it saves you time, but you still have to
Yeah.
have the wherewithal on how to do this stuff. You know, how to have
Right.
to know how to
Right.
produce. You have to know what makes a good edit. So that stuff excites me because I
That's
am
amazing.
able to get things done quicker in that capacity.
Right.
But to completely rely on it to do the job, I
Right.
hope it doesn't get
Gotcha.
there yet. You know,
Exactly.
I saw it.
Until
There
we
was some like
retire.
Instagram meme. Yeah, like somebody, I
Yeah.
saw it somewhere. It's like, you know, teach AI to do my laundry and go grocery shopping for me. I don't want it to take pictures and write songs for me. You
Right.
know?
Right. Well, a great segue, by the way, because I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So many years ago, in the dorm, I learned that you play, write, and sing
Right.
music. So, tell us a little bit about your. Do you call it a band? Your duo?
Yeah, it's a music duo with my girlfriend Marissa. We're called Take Two, and it's funny. Like, I've always had a love of music since I was a kid. Always played piano and sang, and I would appear in a talent show through high school or whatever. And I even did, like, there was a sound stage, you know, at PSTV in
Oh,
college.
right,
Like,
right,
it was
right,
like,
right,
yeah. So I did that. So I always dabbled, but like, I never like put myself out there to play publicly, really. Um, so and work and life and stuff gets in the way. And then,
Right.
I met my girlfriend, Marissa, and she was just like, well, why aren't you out doing this more? And she sings, she's a performer. So, we started doing open mics. And then, there was a booking agent. They're like, you guys are really good. You should be out there playing. Like, I'll book you. Do you have like 3 hours worth of music that you could play? And we're like, yeah.
Sure.
Sure. But now we do. We have like 4 hours worth of music. So
That's awesome.
it's funny. It's like it's always played piano. I came to guitar later in life, so it's just one of those things. It's like, what? It's like, I don't want to be hunched over a desk. There's more to life than just work, and
Right.
you have to enjoy what you do, but like, don't give up on your passions, which I did for a long time. And so I'm kind of getting back to it now. And it's something that I'm like really strict about carving time for. Like, I have to practice, I have to rehearse, and I have to be ready for when I get booked for these restaurant gigs and stuff. It's just a lot of fun. It's not going to make me
That's
a millionaire, but it fills the soul a little bit, which is important.
No, that's great advice.
Yeah.
One or two last questions. What advice would you wish you the younger Dan would have had, maybe when you were in college, graduating college, that you know could have helped?
Like going back to like college, like I was always a little unsure about what I wanted to do. Like I kind of went into mass communication major and stuff as a default. Like I knew I wanted to wind up in marketing or advertising in some capacity, so it seemed like a good
Mhm.
route to go. But honestly, I think I would probably have taken a different path. Like I think I would have loved to have been better versed in business and other life skills that are so
Right.
applicable to many directions in life. But I think on the back end now, seeing like, I thought maybe like when I graduated, I'm going to go work for NBC or one of the networks, and that's going to be my career. Um, I didn't really anticipate being in business for myself, but I was from like an early on. And I certainly made my string of mistakes because I was not as
Yeah.
business savvy as I should have been. You learn some hard
Agreed.
lessons, you make some mistakes. So, you know, that's what I would have told younger Dan. Like, take some business courses, take some
Yeah.
more writing courses. I even would have paid attention to economics a little bit better too for
For
finances.
me, for me, it
Yeah,
was like I had never heard the word freelance in
right,
college. I didn't know
right,
that what we do is you're a freelancer.
right.
Um, I don't know if I would have chosen this life if I really
Yeah,
would have known what it was about before getting
right,
into it.
right.
I missed a lot,
Yeah.
uh, family stuff. Um, and last question: what advice would you give to kids, graduating college now, going to college, that are trying to get into either getting into our industry or not, just from your life skills?
Um, don't let others pigeonhole you, or don't pigeonhole yourself. Like,
Mhm.
I think more so, and increasingly more so, we've kind of saw how the business and what we did was so segmented. You were a camera
Right.
person, you were a DP, you were an audio person. All of those skills have kind of overlapped,
True.
and almost into a ridiculous way now. Like if you looked at job postings on LinkedIn or in the industry, job search, uh, you have to be a producer, an editor, a designer, a writer, a webmaster. You have to know SEO. You have to know all these things. It's a ridiculous amount of
It's
stuff.
crazy. Yeah.
It's yeah. So you know you don't have to know all those things, but I think you have to be very well versed in um, just the whole creative skill set, and not don't lose my train of thought here a little bit, but like
No,
don't
you're
get so lost in the projects that you're working on for different people and for different companies. Like it's very easy to sort of get lost in the mix and be like, this is what I'm doing on a weekly basis, and not look 5-10 years down the road, you
right.
know? because to your point early on, where you're like, you knew right away that you didn't want to be sitting in a dark room putting together videos. And I was like, this is exciting. But because I had such tunnel vision, and all of a sudden
Right.
you're like, oh my gosh, it's 10, 15, 20 years later. Where did the time go? You know, maybe back then, like I would have thought about a pivot, you
Hmm.
know, I still love this what we do, but it's competitive, and you have to really stay on your game and learn the tool sets. And now with the onset of AI and what that's going to mean, there's already been like a significant amount of layoffs. So
Oh,
I
totally.
mean, yeah, my advice, people starting out and getting in this business, like definitely get involved, learn as much as you can, have a diverse skill set. Don't just do one thing.
Right.
Um, push yourself with what's available, but look ahead because
Yeah.
technology changes, the industry changes. Don't get so lost in the work that you're not paying attention to your inner compass and
Totally. I
and
mean,
and, and neglecting another calling that may be triggered somewhere along the way. I'm
yeah.
not going to go be
I always,
playing arenas or anything, but I love that I'm out playing music, and it's just an uh, you know it's something else that I do that brings me a lot of enjoyment. That when it comes down to sit and work, because my cup is filled a little bit someplace else, like I have a lot more to offer.
right. Yeah. I always tell people, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, come up with
Hmm.
something new, have something on the side, a side business. In the last 10 years, I've had to, because of, injuries or whatever, I've
Yeah.
had to reinvent myself like 3 times. And, so you just don't be afraid to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's really it. It's we could both talk about our physical injuries, but that
Yeah,
certainly does. It's all part of it. That kind of changes your direction on how you have to
exactly.
approach work and life in general.
Well, Dan, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to join us on this episode of TV Crew Talk.
I was looking forward
And
to it.
stay tuned for our next one coming up soon.